He stood at the edge of the fancy ballroom, dressed in a suit that cost more than his entire childhood home, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't belong. The room was full of people who smiled the way wealthy people smile, like every kind word was a performance. He watched them laugh, watched them toast, watched them move through the room with the confidence of people who never had to worry about tomorrow. Then from across the crowd he saw her. Not a celebrity, not a socialite, not someone who belonged in this world at all. She was standing near the buffet, holding a tray of small appetizers, her eyes tired but kind. He froze. His heart started beating faster, and he realized he hadn't expected to feel this way. He hadn't expected to remember. He hadn't expected to feel like the past had followed him into this room. If you're new here, welcome to Kindness Tales. If you love stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be, go ahead and hit subscribe. Like the video if this one touches your heart, and leave a comment sharing what kindness has meant to you. He grew up in a small neighborhood where the streets were cracked and the houses leaned like they'd been through too many storms. The kind of place where kids played in front yards and people knew each other by first name, but where money was always a problem and hope was something you had to cling to tightly. He was a quiet kid, the kind who tried not to be noticed because being noticed meant being judged. His father worked long hours doing construction, his hands always rough and raw, and his mother cleaned houses on the weekends to make sure there was food on the table. They did their best, but it never felt like enough. He was a boy who learned early that you couldn't ask for much. You learned to be grateful for what you got. You learned to be careful with every dollar. You learned to keep your dreams inside your chest because dreams had a way of turning into disappointment when you let them out. At school he was smart, but he wasn't the kind of kid who got picked first for anything. Not because he was mean or weird, but because he didn't have the clothes, the sneakers, the confidence. He had a backpack with one strap, and sometimes it didn't close all the way because the zipper was broken. He had a lunchbox that his mom had packed with leftovers, and he could feel the stares when the other kids opened their plastic containers with brand-name snacks. He tried to ignore it, but he couldn't. Kids are cruel without even meaning to be. One day when he was 13, he was walking home from school with his stomach growling so loud he could almost hear it echoing. He had skipped lunch because his mom had told him to save his lunch money for the bus. He told himself he didn't mind. He told himself it was fine. But by the time he reached the corner store, he felt weak and dizzy. He stopped outside the window, looking at the sandwiches and chips like they were something he could never touch. He stood there for a long time, staring, trying to will himself into being someone who could afford a snack. That's when he saw her. She was sitting on the steps of a small apartment building, eating a sandwich she had clearly made at home. Her skin was dark and smooth, and her hair was pulled back in a simple bun. She looked like she belonged in a different story, one where she didn't have to worry about being seen. She noticed him staring and offered a small smile. He felt embarrassed, like she'd caught him in a moment of weakness. He tried to look away, but he couldn't. "Hungry?" she asked, and her voice was gentle, not teasing, not cruel. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to people asking if he was hungry. People usually asked him why he was so quiet, or why he didn't have nicer shoes, or why his backpack was falling apart. But this was different. This was kindness without judgment. He swallowed and nodded. He wanted to say no, because saying yes felt like admitting something he didn't want anyone to know. But his stomach betrayed him. He nodded again. She patted the step beside her. "Come sit," she said. "You don't have to be ashamed." He hesitated, then walked over and sat down. The air smelled like summer and warm pavement. The world felt quiet, like it had paused just for this moment. She tore her sandwich in half and held out one half to him. He stared at it like it was a treasure. He didn't take it right away. He felt the weight of the moment, the shame of needing something, the fear that this kindness would come with a price. But she didn't ask for anything. She just watched him with eyes that seemed to understand. When he finally took the sandwich, his hands shook. He took a bite, and the taste of bread and cheese and something simple and warm made him feel like he could breathe again. He ate quickly, like he was afraid it would disappear. She watched him, smiling softly, like she was happy to see him feel relief. After he finished, he looked at her and said, "Thank you." She shrugged like it was nothing. "You're welcome," she said. Everybody gets hungry. He wanted to say more. He wanted to ask her why she was being nice to him, why she didn't care that he was poor, why she didn't look away like everyone else. But he didn't know how. He was 13. He was still learning how to be human. Before he left, he looked at her and said something that surprised even him. "When I'm rich, I'm gonna marry you." She laughed, a soft sound that felt like it belonged to someone who had heard promises like that before. But she didn't dismiss him. She didn't tell him he was dreaming. She just looked at him and said, "You better remember that." He nodded like it was a vow. He didn't know if he meant it, but he wanted to. He wanted to believe that his life could change, that he could become someone who didn't have to worry about food. He wanted to believe that kindness could lead to something more. Years passed, and life did what it always does. It moved forward whether you were ready or not. He grew into a young man, and the promise he made that day stayed tucked in his heart like a secret. He worked hard, harder than anyone expected. He took jobs that other people wouldn't take. He cleaned offices at night, washed dishes, did construction, anything that would pay. He saved every dollar he could, not because he was greedy, but because he wanted to build a life that was different from the one he had. He wasn't just working for himself. He was working for the memory of that girl on the steps. He carried her kindness like a light in his pocket, something that reminded him that there was goodness in the world, even when everything else felt dark. He went to community college, then to a state university, and he did it the hard way. He didn't have the luxury of choosing the easy path. He studied late into the night, sometimes falling asleep over his textbooks with his pencil still in his hand. He felt like he was running a race that had no finish line, but he kept going. He started a small business, something he built from scratch with nothing but grit and determination. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't fast, but it grew, slowly at first, then faster. He made mistakes. He learned. He hired people who needed work, people who reminded him of himself when he was young and hungry and unsure. Then one day his business started to take off. He got a contract that changed everything. He found himself in a position he never imagined. He was finally able to breathe. He could pay his parents back for everything they had sacrificed. He could buy a house. He could finally feel like he belonged in the world. And yet, the promise he made years ago stayed with him. It was like a knot in his heart that never untied. He wondered if she was still out there. He wondered if she had forgotten him. He wondered if she had grown up and moved on, like most people do. He wondered if she had ever told anyone about the boy who promised to marry her when he was rich. He tried to find her. He asked around the neighborhood, but people moved. Houses changed hands, names changed. He searched online, but there were too many people with the same name. He felt like he was chasing a ghost. Then one evening, he was at a charity event. It was a fundraiser for a local shelter, and he was there because he believed in giving back. He was standing near the buffet, feeling a little out of place, when he saw her. She was working there, serving food to people who needed it. She was older now, but she looked the same in a way that made his chest tighten. Her hair was pulled back the same way. Her smile was the same gentle smile. Her eyes were tired, but they still held that kindness. He couldn't move. His mind went blank. He felt like he was watching himself from the outside. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but it never looked like this. He had imagined her in a beautiful dress, standing in a grand hall waiting for him. He had imagined a perfect reunion, but life didn't work like that. Life was messy. Life was real. He approached her slowly, not wanting to scare her. She looked up, and for a moment he saw recognition in her eyes. Then her expression softened, like she was remembering something she had tried not to forget. "You," she said quietly. He nodded, his throat tight. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know you probably don't remember me." She smiled, and it was the same smile he remembered. "Of course I remember you," she said. "You were the boy who promised to marry me when he was rich." He laughed, but it came out shaky. "I did promise," he said, "and I didn't forget." She looked at him for a long moment, and he could see the confusion in her eyes. Not confusion about who he was, but confusion about why he was standing there. Why he had come back. Why he had found her. He felt the weight of the years between them. The distance that had grown. The lives they had lived. "I've been looking for you," he said. "I didn't know how to find you. I didn't know if you were okay. I wanted to thank you." She looked down, and he could see her hands trembling slightly. "You don't owe me anything," she said. He shook his head. "I owe you everything," he said. "You fed me when I was starving. You didn't judge me. You didn't make me feel small. You just helped, and I never forgot it." She swallowed hard, and he could see tears forming in her eyes. "I didn't do it for you to remember me," she said. "I did it because it was the right thing to do." He nodded, but he felt the need to say more. "I want to make good on my promise," he said. "Not like a joke, not like a fantasy, I mean it. I want to take care of you. I want to give you the life you deserve." She stared at him, and he could see the shock in her face. He could see the struggle between disbelief and hope. She had probably heard promises like this before. She had probably been disappointed. She had probably learned to protect herself by not expecting anything. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. He took a step closer, but not too close. He wanted to respect her space. He wanted to respect her life. "You don't have to say anything," he said. "Just let me be honest. I've been blessed in a way I never thought I would be. And I want to use that blessing to honor you, not because I'm trying to buy your forgiveness, but because you deserve kindness too." She looked at him, and he could see her mind racing. He could see the memories of that day on the steps. The way he had looked at her like she was a miracle. He could see the weight of her own life, the hardships she had faced. He could see the pride in her eyes, the pride of someone who had survived. Then she smiled, and it was the kind of smile that felt like a release. "You really did remember," she said. "I thought you'd forget." He nodded. "I didn't," he said. "And I want you to know something else. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm here because I want to be part of your life, if you want me to be." She looked down again, and this time the tears fell. She wiped them away quickly, like she didn't want anyone to see. She was a woman who had learned to be strong, but in that moment she let herself be human. "I don't know if I'm ready," she said. "I don't know if I can trust this. I don't know if I can believe in promises." He nodded. "I understand," he said. "But I'm not asking you to decide right now. I just want you to know that I'm here. And if you ever want to talk, if you ever need anything, I'll be there." She looked up at him and her eyes softened. "You've grown into a good man," she said. "I'm proud of you." He felt something in his chest loosen. He had spent so many years trying to become someone worthy of that kind of pride. He had worked so hard to escape the life he was born into. And now, standing in front of the woman who had given him a sandwich when he was starving, he felt like he had finally come full circle. They talked for a while, just talking like two people who had been connected by a moment that changed both of their lives. He learned that she had faced her own struggles. She had worked hard, too. She had raised a family. She had gone through heartbreak. She had done what she could to survive. And she had never forgotten the boy who sat beside her on those steps. Before he left that night, he handed her an envelope. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a check, enough to cover bills she had been struggling with. But it wasn't just money. It was a message, a way of saying that kindness mattered, a way of saying that the world could still be good. She looked up at him, her eyes shining. "You didn't have to do this," she said. He smiled. "You did," he said. "You showed me what kindness looks like. You showed me that even when you're struggling, you can still be generous. You showed me that being rich isn't just about money. It's about having a heart." She nodded, and for the first time in years, he saw her truly relax. Not because she trusted him completely, but because she felt seen, because she felt valued, because she realized that the world hadn't forgotten her. As he walked away, he didn't know what the future held. He didn't know if they would end up together, or if they would simply remain connected by a promise and a memory. But he knew this. The kindness she had shown him had changed the course of his life. It had given him something to believe in when everything else felt hopeless. And that's the thing about kindness. It doesn't always come with a spotlight. It doesn't always come with a thank you. Sometimes it comes in the quiet moments, the small gestures that seem insignificant at the time. But those moments can become the foundation for a life. They can be the reason someone keeps going. They can be the spark that turns a dream into reality. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who might need a reminder that kindness matters. And if you have a story of kindness that changed your life, leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. In the end, the boy who was hungry didn't just grow up to be rich. He grew up to be someone who understood what true wealth really means. And the girl who offered him a sandwich didn't just give him food. She gave him hope. She gave him a reason to believe that life could be better. And that is a kind of love that lasts far longer than money.